Spoilers ahead. Watch out and take care. The movie begins in 1990 when Clarice Starling is pulled from her FBI training at the Quantico FBI Academy by Jack Crawford of the Bureau's Behavioral Science Unit. He assigns her to interview Hannibal Lecter, a former psychiatrist and incarcerated cannibalistic serial killer. As she is about to leave, Jack warns Clarice not to talk about anything personal to avoid getting Hannibal in her head. Jack believes Lecter's insight could prove useful in the pursuit of a psychopath serial killer nicknamed Buffalo Bill, who kills young women and removes their skin from their bodies. Clarice goes to the Baltimore Forensic Hospital, and there she sees Dr. Chilton, who tells her that they have not had much success with Hannibal in the past, but a young and attractive woman like her might as well give it a try. He then goes on to enlist some strict rules for Clarice in order for her to be able to safely talk to Hannibal. We get to know that Hannibal bit a nurse some time ago, so they have set these precautions accordingly when Clarice goes inside to interview the man. Clarice says that she is going to talk to the man without anyone else's assistance. She then walks down the hall, filled with brutal criminals, and as she walks in the hallway, they call her things, but she keeps her head high in order to show them that she is not afraid or bothered by them. She gets to the end of the hall, and the last cell is where Hannibal awaits her. As she gets there, she finds him standing, already waiting for her. The other inmates are behind the iron bars, but Hannibal's cell is behind reinforced glass. As Clarice stands in front of him, he looks at her and right away goes on to deduce she is one of Jack's colleagues. Through her ID card, Hannibal notices that she is still a trainee, but it has no effect on Clarice, and she continues talking to him. Clarice sees that Hannibal has drawn sketches of the Duomo in Florence and appreciates his talent for sketching. She tries to talk about the FBI questionnaire that was given to her, but Hannibal is shrewd. He goes on to say that he is well aware of Jack's plan of understanding and arresting Buffalo Bill. When asked why Buffalo Bill skins his victims, he is told that he likes to keep it as trophies, as most serial killers do. Hannibal, however, tells her he is not interested in keeping trophies. He is then given the questionnaire and decides to help. He goes on to speak out about his observation of Clarice as he talks about her clothes and her accent that she tries to hide. Clarice finally falters as she challenges him to use his keen observation on himself, implying that he is afraid to do that. Hannibal does not seem to like that as he returns her the questionnaire and startles her by sliding the box loudly. He leans on the glass and tells her a story about a man whose liver he ate. Clarice is shocked and dreaded after hearing the story, and she starts to walk out of the prison hallway. As she is leaving, a prisoner named Miggs flicks semen at her. Hannibal then shouts for Clarice and goes on to apologize for the other inmates' behavior as he finds it disgusting. He gives her the name Moffat, telling her that she should look into it. Clarice walks out of there, and she is in tears. That night, Clarice looks into Hannibal's case. Jack calls to inform her that Miggs has passed away after swallowing his tongue. He further adds, the guards reported that Hannibal was whispering to the inmate before it happened. Clarice is shocked because she thinks that he has done it because of Miggs' behavior toward her earlier that day. Jack asks about the name Moffat and tells her that he has been unable to find it. Clarice remembers how Hannibal asked her to look into yourself, and it leads her to a storage facility known as Yourself. It is located near the place where Hannibal used to live. She goes there, and a man tells her that a person named Miss Hester Moffat rents a unit at the storage facility. When she goes into the unit, she discovers a jar containing a man's severed head. Clarice goes back to the hospital to see Hannibal. She sits on the floor in front of a TV while Hannibal sits in the dark. Hannibal tells her the head she saw is of his former patient named Benjamin Raspail. He, however, says he did not kill the man but kept his head only and adds that he was killed during an experiment. As they talk, the lights turn on, and Clarice sees that his sketches have been taken away as punishment. The television program in front of him is also a part of his punishment. Hannibal then offers to profile Buffalo Bill on the condition he be transferred away from Chilton, whom he detests. The scene changes and we see a woman named Catherine Martine enjoying music as she drives back home at night. A man with goggles spots the woman. As Catherine walks toward her apartment, after parking the car, she sees a man trying to load a chair in his truck. Seeing that the man has an injured arm, she offers to help him. Catherine gets into the truck to get the chair inside, but as she gets in, the man punches her and knocks her out. He cuts her blouse as he checks her size 14 and throws it away. Another body of a woman is found. We see Jack briefing Clarice on some reports as he tells her how Buffalo keeps the bodies of victims for 3 days and makes sure there's no evidence to be found. The bodies are always found in the river after all the evidence gets washed off by the water. Clarice expresses that Buffalo is a man who is either in his late 30s or early 40s and he is not going to stop anytime soon as he has perfected his work now. Jack then sees Sheriff Perkins and tells him that he wants to speak to him in private. As they talk, Clarice goes to look into another funeral room and she recalls her father's funeral. In the autopsy room, Clarice sees the body for the first time. She feels a little bothered by everything, but soldiers on to inspect the body and records her finding on a tape recorder. She notices something in the body's throat, and upon seeing it, it turns out to be a cocoon. While looking into the origin of the cocoon, Clarice finds out this cocoon actually originates in Asia, which means someone has been specifically raising them in this area. We then see on the news, a senator named Ruth Martin's daughter is missing. She is believed to be taken by Buffalo Bill. Now that it is about a senator's daughter, this puts Buffalo Bill in the spotlight, and the government is now focused on him. The senator herself appears on TV and tries to plead to Buffalo Bill and makes her understand that her daughter is human. Clarice, on the other hand, goes to see Hannibal with all the developments that she has made regarding Buffalo Bill. Clarice tells Hannibal the senator has offered to transfer him to a maximum security facility in exchange for helping them profile Buffalo Bill to save the senator's daughter. Hannibal, on the other hand, demands Clarice to share her personal stories in exchange for his compliance. Clarice has no other choice, so she tells him the story of her father, who passed away while he was on his job. She tells Hannibal that her mother was also gone when she was just 10. She has been an orphan from a very young age. After hearing her stories, Hannibal asks Clarice if Catherine was a big woman, and Clarice confirms that all of Buffalo Bill's victims have been large women. She also tells Hannibal about the moth they found in the body Clarice inspected and adds that they found the same raccoon in Raspail's head. Hannibal then tells her that the cocoon symbolizes transformation and that Buffalo Bill wants to change as well. Hannibal then tells her Buffalo Bill had applied for transsexual surgery, but they denied the surgery due to his mental condition. He tells her that Buffalo Bill hates himself and wants to change. The scene changes and we see Buffalo Bill and Catherine in a dark room. He asks her to put lotion on herself. He then goes on to scare her and copies her as she screams. Chilton secretly records the conversation and reveals Starling's deceit to Lecter before offering him a different deal. Hannibal agrees and is flown to Memphis, where he meets and torments Senator Martin, then gives her false information on Buffalo Bill, including that his name is Louis Friend. Clarice figures out Louis Friend is an anagram of iron sulfide, fool's gold. She visits Hannibal, who is now imprisoned in a cell in a Tennessee courthouse, and requests the truth. Hannibal says all the information she needs is contained in the Buffalo Bill case file, then insists on continuing their quid pro quo. She recounts a traumatic childhood incident of hearing spring lambs being slaughtered on a relative's Montana farm. Lecter speculates that Starling hopes saving Catherine will end the recurring nightmares she has of lambs screaming. Hannibal returns the Buffalo Bill case files to Starling as Chilton arrives and has the police escort her from the building. Later that evening, Lecter kills his guards, escapes from his cell, and disappears. Clarice analyzes Hannibal's file annotations and figures out that Buffalo Bill knew his first victim, Frederica Bimmel. Clarice travels to her Ohio hometown and discovers that Bimmel and Buffalo Bill were tailors. At Frederica's home, she notices unfinished dresses and dress patterns identical to the patches of skin removed from the victims. She phones Jack and says Buffalo Bill is making a suit with human skin. Jack is already en route to make an arrest, having cross-referenced Hannibal's notes with hospital archives and finding a man named Jane Gum who gives some information on Buffalo Bill. Clarice continues interviewing Frederica's friends, while Jack and an FBI HRT storm Gum's address in Illinois, finding the house empty. Meanwhile, Clarice goes to interview another person who knew Frederica. At the house, she meets Jack Gordon, but realizes he is Gum, spotting a death's head moth flying loose. She pursues him into a cavernous basement and finds Catherine trapped in a dry well. In a dark room, Gum stalks Starling with night vision goggles but reveals himself by cocking his revolver. Clarice reacts quickly and shoots Gum dead. At the FBI Academy graduation party, Starling receives a phone call from Lecter, who is at a Bimini airport. He assures her he has no intention of pursuing her and requests that she return the favor, which she says she cannot. Lecter subsequently hangs up the phone because he is having an old friend for dinner. He trails a newly arrived Chilton into the crowd. The end.